Hello, welcome. Thank you for joining. We're going to give it about 30 more seconds. I know we started a few minutes after, and I appreciate everyone's patience to see if anyone else joins. I know it's kind of the transition in between all of the meetings, but thank you everyone for joining on time. Amazing. Well, I will get started. Hi, everyone, and welcome to JCC Association's Climate Action Peer Community Convening. We are so excited to have you all here today. My name is Rebecca Firth, and I am the Assistant Program Director, JCC Talent, here at JCC Association, and I use the pronoun she, her. I'm joined by my colleagues Mark Young and Sawyer Schwartz, who are also part of our talent team here at JCC Association, and Sawyer will be helping with tech support today. Your volunteer chair people are Roxana Marcus and Jennifer Trickett. Roxana is the Chief Development Officer at the Michael Ann Russell JCC in North Miami Beach, and Jennifer is the Early Childhood Director at JCC of Greater Vancouver. JCC Association is the convener and connector for all of you who work in the field. We often hear from people, even at well-planned conferences, that the best time in learning comes from informal conversations between sessions. So this is that time. We understand that there may be people who are new to their role and those who have many years of experience. Each of us brings wisdom to the conversation. We ask everyone to participate in the conversation and approach each other with respect. We invite each of you to ask for clarity if you require it. And now, before I hand it over to our co-chairs, just like to start with a quick intro, especially since it's a smaller group, feel free to come off mute. Please include your name, title, JCC, and location. And the question is, what is your favorite vacation? Kind of thinking of a lot of people are going to be coming to do upcoming vacations with the holiday. Curious what everyone's favorite vacation was, or maybe one that you're looking forward to. I can start. So my favorite probably vacation was going to Hawaii with my whole mom side of the family, which was very incredible.
Guess I answered in the chat. So mine was like a recent trip I did to Japan over the holidays in October and in South Korea.
Hey everyone, I'm Peter Rose from David Posnack JCC, Director of Philanthropy, and happy to be part of the group.
Hi Peter, nice to see you again.
Good to see you. I put in the chat BK before kids. I got to go to Stonehenge with my wife, and that was a bucket list item while visiting for our honeymoon in the country. And with kids, Disney, getting to see them enjoy it for the first time. My son got to actually ride Thunder Mountain just a few months ago. He's 4.5, so we had a blast.
Very cool. I'm Jen, and I'm going to do a similar before kids and after kids because I couldn't pick either. But before kids, my husband and I did an almost 4-week trip to various islands in Greece. And so that was one of my favorites. And then just last summer, me and my girls did a road trip to the Oregon coast, and that was great.
Hi everyone, I can go next. I'm Sam. I'm the operations director at the Jewish Community Alliance in Portland, Maine. And 2 years ago on my honeymoon, I went to Croatia and would highly recommend swimming in the Adriatic Sea. It is really warm and beautiful and blue. And I really like this like before kids, after kids qualifier they're using. We're very different people and we vacation in very different ways with children. But it's good to be here and good to see all of your faces.
The only one who hasn't gone yet. Can you guys hear me?
Yeah.
Okay. Is this like a travel diary? Like what's the MO? I missed the beginning.
The question is, what is your favorite vacation? Or what is one that you're looking forward to if you are taking one in the next few weeks?
Okay. So I've done two like in the last year and a half that have been great. And one was without kids because my kids were out of the house. And the other one was with my grown kids. So I don't even remember the before kids stuff that much anymore. But last year we did Portugal and Spain, and that was 13 nights and really amazing, beautiful. We tried to do a lot of really cool hiking, some scary hiking. And then I also did Utah and so southern Utah and several of the 5 big parks, and finished with the Grand Canyon, which is my second time there, and was like it was just so amazing and magical. And I could go back a million times.
Amazing. Thank you for sharing. So if anyone else wants to share, please feel free to do so in the chat. I would now like to hand it over to Jen and Roxana to get us started today.
Hi, everyone. I'm Jen, and as Rebecca mentioned, I'm the Early Childhood Director at the JCC in Vancouver. And how I'm going to get started is talking a little bit about what climate action resolutions are and what they can look like in your organization. So what they are little bits and pieces or a plan that you can come up with for your organization to make some changes and be more climate aware, which I know can be difficult because you need to first of all create that recognition inside the organization that it is an important piece of what we do. I would, most of us as nonprofits and community builders, it is a huge part in what we should be doing is recognizing our place in the community and how we take care of the world around us. It is one of our Jewish values in Tikkun Olam and taking care of the world. So it is right there for us, in front of us to be a part of. So I think it's just, important to create recognition within the organization. It's really important that there's some leaders in the group to get buy-in from management and decision makers within your organization so that you have the support to be able to have a plan and actually follow through and make changes. And if you're committing to small changes, it doesn't necessarily have to mean that you're spending a lot of money on it. It could be small things that have no cost, but still big impact. So for example, at our JCC, we are currently undergoing redevelopment. So we're actually in the process of making plans for a brand new building. So for us, small changes is really important because that's what we can do right now in this 80-year-old building that we're in without having too much of a cost impact. So some of the things that we're doing is making sure that there's more recycling and compost bins through our building, using reusable dishes and cups at company events, encouraging people to do things more digitally instead of on paper. This actually happened because of COVID, but we upgraded our HVAC systems, which actually helps in our energy efficiency also. So that was a win for us. Our department in early childhood, we actually have a large garden and we have our very own vermicompost, which is a worm compost that we maintain. And yeah, like I think they sound like small things, but they're all very doable things and things that you can get people to buy into and be a part of. And if everyone is doing these little things, they do add up. I'll pass it over to Roxana to talk about some bigger impacts.
Hello, everyone. My name is Roxana Marcus. As Rebecca mentioned, I'm the Chief Development Officer here at the Michael and Russell JCC, North Miami Beach. I'm just going to like focus today on kind of like listing a few initiatives that we took. Well, first of all, we finished a major project, which was the installation of a white roof. We have not replaced our roof like for more than like 25 years, which is a lot. So when we came up like with the decision, like what would be like the best option, you know, for us, and also like obviously to reduce environmental footprint, was to actually install a white roof. I'm not sure like how many of us are let's say familiar with the concept. I wasn't, let's say, until we started doing this project. And what it's like really help us, especially here in Florida. It's also like it reduces the heat buildup, which means that it's going to minimize our need for additional AC units. And also we focused on changing our lighting systems to go more like on an LED. Because it's also like energy efficiency. It saves a lot of like costs. We also did an energy audit as well, because we really wanted like to see which areas we can, you know, like improve actually and save some cost, and also like to be environmentally conscientious. We are also doing recycling right now. We have a recycling program. Mainly right now it's just like paper and cartons, but obviously we would love to expand it a little bit, include, let's say, plastic and other materials. And then I'm going to like mention a little bit about the support we received in terms of funding to implement some of these initiatives. So actually we have on this call Lior, and she works for Adama. We've partnered with Adama. I mean, we became part of the Jewish Climate Coalition more like, I would say, a year ago. And we were very lucky enough to receive some funding from Adama, from various grants, and also from the Miami-Dade that helped us to implement some of these initiatives. So I don't know if Lior, you want to like talk a little bit more about like what Adama does and how, you know, can be helpful for the other JCCs?
Sure. My name is Lior Milgram Gartner, and as Roxana just introduced, I work with Adama, and we run the Jewish Climate Leadership Coalition, an initiative that supports Jewish organizations across North America and dabbling elsewhere to think through what climate efforts make sense for your organization, help implement them with funding, with resources, with support. And it's great to look around kind of the screen and actually see a whole bunch of organizations here are already part of the coalition. The main work, joining is free. And it's really delighted. We have a partnership with the JCC Association. We've been working closely with Rebecca and Mark to not just kind of help the JCC Association in their climate work, but also think through how to best support each one of you and the other 160 or so other JCCs around. The major task of being in the coalition is creating a climate action plan. And I'll hint to it now, but we can talk more about it later. It's really similar to the JCC climate survey that over like 80 JCCs did last year. And it basically maps out the climate work done to date and kind of plants the seeds for what may come in, what may be available and on the table for the coming year. What we have learned, and this is maybe even why right, there's like a delightful group here from all different facets of the organization, is that JCCs are, I think, leaders in this space within the Jewish community. you all have the biggest footprints of space, footprints around climate. You are one of the few types of organizations that have pools and gyms and are running often nearly 365 days a year, opening up bright and early, closing very, very late in the day. And that means that small changes like Roxana just mentioned around lighting actually accrue to like so much money saved in the bank towards mission-oriented work. And so it's actually really one of the coolest figures of the coalition is that JCCs as an entity are you all are like I haven't figured out how to say this right, but of the entire JCC network, there are the greatest number of JCCs in the coalition than any other type of Jewish umbrella group out there. So you're the largest and growing the fastest, and that's a rhythm that I am so excited to support. I'll throw the link into the chat, and there may be more time later to discuss, and I'll be in breakouts as well.
So I think with our small group that we have here, we've decided to forego the breakout rooms and just stay as a group. Otherwise, there might just be two-person conversations. So this way we all get different ideas. And I think one of the things that Roxana, Lior, and Rebecca and I had spoken about earlier this week or last week, time is a blur at the moment, but is the idea of the new year and how common it is for people to make resolutions. And resolutions are really just ideas that we have that we want to fulfill. So we can use that for climate action as well. So part of what we were going to talk about in our breakout rooms was things that we can commit to or plan on for our futures and our organizations around climate action. So I'll open it up if anybody has things that they're doing already or things that they would like to try and get more ideas about, and that would give us ideas for topics for the future too, if there's things that we want to talk about or you want to know more about.
Hey everyone. So at RJ, and we are also very grateful recipients of an Adama grant for this past year. We are underway with architectural drawings on a new training kitchen that we're building out that'll serve to support our food truck and hireability certification training. It also serve our campers and serve many other members through arts and culture, adult services. And so our grant was able to help us be able to convert some of the appliances that we're purchasing for this new kitchen to certified energy efficient. So we're grateful to that. We are actually working with an appropriation from the state to get underway with converting our senior wing, where we do our senior lunch 5 days a week, to a post-catastrophe senior shelter. So this is something that we've been working for years to get to. And one of the conscious decisions, because we are now members of the Climate Coalition, and I've been talking with facilities and other people, is as we're doing these things, where can we make little tweaks to make it even more efficient? So one of the things that they're doing is they're switching out all the windows to be more energy efficient, which post-catastrophe can help, but it also help with the energy usage and energy waste. So it'll be less work for the AC units in the end. So it has a direct connection there. But there are, we just recently completed switching out the windows to impact windows for the preschool on site as well. So again, baby steps towards getting significant change. I have a pie in the sky wish list, and I know it's going to take a long time, and working with our partners here on campus, because we share the campus with the Federation of Broward. But my personal wish list is to see at least half of our parking lot converted into a car part covered solar panel. We have the spots. I know the solar panels will reduce the temperature of the paved parking spots themselves, which will reduce the heat surrounding the building, which will help the HVAC units. The energy capture can help run exterior things from sprinklers to lights and so much more. And whether that's including power stations for electric vehicles or what have it. When I did some preliminary research, it looked like it would be about $17,000 to $20,000 for like 4 spots.
Right. I did the
So
same.
if as we are working as a co-op group, there are, as I've learned, some national organizations that are installing these type of things that are working in multi-states across the country, and I'm sure buying power and can be helped. And prices can be helped as the technology is getting better. It's like waiting for the technology to get good enough so that costs come down enough and demand get high enough that costs come down enough. But that's a wish list, because we have such an amazing parking lot. We are very fortunate for our campus, and it seems like such wasted space. We're not allowed to build up in our city, so why not take advantage of what we can do? I need to make it make sense for going to bat for it. And so any guidance along the way, or any tips that people hear about, different reimbursements or things that are happening. I know FPL manages stuff, or our electric company in our state does different things, but I'll throw it back to all of you. But that's like we have lots of little things we're doing, but I would love to see the solar panels just present and not taking away parking spots, but adding to them. So, that's a dream I have.
Hi everyone. I'm curious for JCCs that have already done this, or that are a part of the coalition with Adama. Like, we have a lot of board interest in these kind of initiatives, and our leadership is really into it. And we just actually activated a whole solar panel on our roof, solar array on our roof, which is great. We just don't have like anything like we don't have an action plan. We just are like people that are into it and want to do more. So I'm curious what the process has been like in creating the action plan, because I could kind of imagine it being me writing something out, giving it to our CEO, presenting it to the board, and they're like, great. But I feel like something like this, especially when it comes to the little things and more of a cultural shift, how you other folks have found it to be effective in implementing it, because it really should be everyone who works here is like part of that conversation and coming up with ideas for how we can do better. So I'm just curious what the process has been like in other places.
I can start because I went through the process. Actually, it wasn't like, cumbersome or nothing like that. And actually, we were like lucky enough. We had Lior helping us as soon as we joined the coalition, which is like a very fast let's say process. I can send you the link. And then like they really helped us out, kind of like, okay, think about like your priorities, like what would kind of like it's your wish list. And then they have like a template, and actually it's very like kind of like self-explanatory. And then Lior, I mean, you can talk more about that since kind of like Adama is spearheading that, but it's like really not something like time consuming or something complicated, and we really had a lot of assistance from Adama in doing it. I don't know about you, Peter, like when you joined, for us was like very smooth and easy.
So pretty much the same. The process was simple. You can join, your CEO or the leader has to sign off, and then
Right.
whoever's going to be the point of contact liaison for the organization, in this case me, because it aligned with my passions to bring something. And then, we do not have an active committee per se. I would like to get to that point, but I work well with our facilities director, our manager. I sit with her, and that's how, when it came time with the template, I actually printed it out and I said, here's the questions. Tell me about the pool. We have I'm blanking on the name, but our pool has a heater that's the pipes go underground, and it's geothermal heating. And so that was something they did years ago. They started switching out light bulbs, and I now know, I got confirmation, we're about 80% of all our light bulbs being switched to LED. And thank goodness we don't have to do all the fixture changes anymore. Now you could just get the LED bulbs ready to go in. But there's all these things that I'm only a year and a few months into my role and working here. Before that, I was a member with a kid going to the preschool. So I had to learn about the history of things that have been done, that maybe they were done at a convenience or timing, but it wasn't done with the mindset of, this is leaving a smaller impact, or this will be our step towards greening our place. It was just done because it was the right decision. But now with this lens, it's allowing that conversation to happen. And I feel like, because we've now spent the last 8-9 months, post sending in the cap, really looking at it. So when the kitchen was coming up, I sat with the director and said, I know you're doing this kitchen. Where can you do things to reduce what your plan is, so that we can have a big impact without making a big impact, and that kind of thing. So I found it relatively easy, and Lior was also a great help and guidance. So, questions, you can message us on the team, but you have Miss Adama herself right on the call. And I have to ask the question, because I keep finding myself switching. Is it Adama or Adama? And do I get demerits for saying it wrong?
I mean, I'm a Hebrew speaker, so it's like Adama, but
Adama. Okay.
like, let's say Americans, they say Adama.
I'm very gringophized, so
With a name like Lior, and I answer pretty much to anything that starts with an L. Like any of those versions, like we know what you're talking about. You say one of those things, you talk about climate or Jewish engagement, we're like, that's us, that's us, that's us. I can speak a little bit to kind of this idea of like how to engage, and what we're finding actually, it's a little bit of a choose your own adventure, in that what we do is we offer a template for what a climate action plan looks like. And I can quickly screen share and kind of like give a sense of what, because you heard whispers of the form, or even the working document. And so every coalition member gets a unique link to their climate action plan. And this is it, where there's 7 different areas of focus, and we can say more about this later. And anyone even got a side ping of like to catch up one-on-one, really, really happy to do that. And just in terms of timing, one can join the coalition anytime. Those who are in the coalition are working on their climate action plans now, and we'll get them all in around Tu B'Shvat. And if you're not yet in the coalition, joining around Tu B'Shvat, which is the kind of like the Jewish, what's become the Jewish environmental holiday. Technically, it's the Jewish kind of like tree tax day. That's a great time to join. So really, and it's something you can celebrate and be proud of. But what we offer through the coalition is like a defined list of climate action plans, and you just note where on the journey you are. So some are going in 45 minutes, boom, 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 are just filling this out and calling it done. We heard of an interesting, like also like a joint JCC federation, where the working document was printed out, distributed to everybody who would have a piece of it. Everybody kind of worked on it on their own, and they're coming together for a couple meetings to finish it up. So it really can be a choose your own adventure. And just because what Peter shared was so interesting and relevant is we have kind of the climate action plan with the getting like on facilities, also on programs, right? With also and the JCCs do all of these things. And then we also understand that there are other ways to engage in climate. And one of them, which is new but becoming more and more critical, and Florida is definitely the front of climate change, period, actually, is a piece around resiliency and what it means for our facilities, for our community to be resilient in the face of climate change. So there's a space for that, Peter, for what you talked about. That was really so interesting to hear. Yeah, and so like if you were to join the coalition, you could, right, one could just fill that out really quickly, or it could be working with the board members and working with the CEO or whomever, be like, well, what makes sense for next year? What makes sense to learn about, to start thinking about? What can we start working on? And the idea is that every year you come back to the same list, and like, well, okay, like one bit at a time, 1 year at a time, how are we going to move forward? And the really cool thing about the coalition is that we aggregate the data. We never feature like one organization's, like call out any one organization, at least without partnership and permission, but we're aggregating what the Jewish community is doing at large. And so when one synagogue installs solar or changes out their light bulbs, like that's great. But when we find out that 200 institutions are doing that nearly, I think 95% of Jewish organizations in the coalition have already implemented energy efficiency measures. 98 haven't done it or plan to do it next year. Like when you start thinking about like what the whole has done, the numbers and the actions become really demonstrative of a movement.
I want to add on the small scale too, Sam. It's always like good to see if there's others in your organization who are also thinking like-mindedly and would join you in like putting together some of the plans and stuff to introduce to the board, because it's always nice to have a partner to be able to bounce ideas off of and thoughts from that's not necessarily at the board level or management level.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you. These are all great ideas, and I'm excited to get this process started for us.
I also want to open up the discussion. I know Roxana, Jen, and Leor all spoke about some items also kind of before this discussion of like future climate action work. Just want to open it up as well. If anybody had any specific questions kind of about what they spoke about, feel free to ask that now as well.
Can I just also chime in, Rebecca, if you will? First of all, I want to thank everyone for being on the call. This is only our second peer community. Last year, we had a climate action cohort. We broadened it so anyone in any stage of their JCC's climate action initiatives, whether it's exploration or you're well into doing work, would be welcome in this space. And appreciating Rebecca and Leor's partnership for bringing this together in Adama's partnership. We also want feedback on how this space can be best used, and so appreciative of our newly minted committee chairs or peer community chairs for taking leadership here. How can this space be helpful for you vis-a-vis Adama, vis-a-vis JCC Association? And know that JCC Association is, just like you, one of the organizations in this group that's pursuing climate action. Our survey work, which Rebecca, I'm not sure if you spoke too much about or you're planning to, but like our surveying the field work, our bringing all of you together, and our own organization's plans to reduce our climate footprint. So we're in this with you. We are so pleased to be in this with you. And Rebecca mentioned that Sawyer myself and Rebecca are in the talent department at JCC Association. This could be characterized a lot of ways. This is a program effort in partnership with Adama, to have direct benefit to JCCs, both, in reducing climate footprint and, hopefully financially it's smart for you as well, and maybe programmatically too. And we see everyone in here as a place to elevate yourself as a professional being part of this work. It may or may not be in your title that you are, the climate coordinator. My sense is that you're probably not in your title, but maybe somewhere appropriately in your description, but that this is an opportunity to elevate you with your skill sets, with your commitment to your JCC, with your contributions to your JCC. So all of that together, just wanted to add that. And so appreciative that this community is continuing its important work together.
Thank you for adding that, Mark.
Hi, everyone. My name is Shannon. I'm from Birmingham, Alabama, JCC. I am really involved in climate action in my personal life, but I can say as a JCC, we have pretty much no strategy whatsoever. And I will say, I'm from Alabama, this isn't a dig, but it's literally the least interesting thing in Alabama to be climate progressive. So I feel like we have a lot of opportunity. Yeah, Florida too. Yeah. So I'm excited about that, but a lot of times when I come to these conversations in my personal life, I got to bring lots of data of like why this is advantageous and helpful. And I'm wondering if there are some quantifiable reports of how this action led to this benefit that y'all have that you could share, that I could start to like warm my board up to build out a plan and that kind of thing. Or I see the stories y'all are collecting, like things like that I can share will help me get buy-in. So I'm just curious what resources are available.
So the best way, I mean, at least like this is like what I did, and actually it worked, because like we had many, let's say, climate change deniers here. The minute actually we did a energy audit, the minute they saw the numbers on how much we can actually save money, people got convinced. So I can share the energy audit that we did with you, and actually it was like very thoroughly done. So if you can like, convince your leadership, I mean, obviously, it comes at a cost, and they're not doing this like for free or anything. But I mean, it's a real eye opener, and it's also like a very good educational tool, but also informational, when we're talking about like finances. And like how you can save funds, and it's like, it can be like a long-term, let's say, plan. So I can definitely like share that with you.
That'd be awesome. Thank you.
Just chime in, because that's one of the things I want to talk and find out internally if we've executed one did, but my CFO keeps saying, oh, insurance went up and our electric bill's going up and all these things are going up. So if you can't change those specific non-controllables, then the controllables we can. So for people that are money conscious, when you can say, listen, we can allocate more money to programs if we don't have to keep doing X, Y, and Z. One of the things they talked about at a board meeting to start the conversation was one of the AC units on the roof is like a 25-ton AC unit, and it's gone down a bunch of times. And so one of the ideas is maybe instead of keep trying to find the parts and fixing it, getting 5-ton AC units and splitting the work up. So if one goes down, the others can pick up the slack and cover the different area. And would that cost a lot of money to run 5 to set up to get? Of course, but in the long run, the amount of money they're spending on repairs and the issues with members not being happy when they work out and there's no air conditioning in the fitness center or in the gym, there's a lot to go with it. The one thing I'll say is, for me, being in philanthropy, it's all about the emotional story. You know, I was talking to somebody the other day and I said, we have two types of donors. We have our emotionally led donors that if they're emotionally connected, they'll find the money and they'll support whatever program or service we're doing. But then you have the strategic donors, and those donors are the ones that are looking for the benefit, the cost analysis, the ROI, the culture improvements and things like that. And it's almost the same type of strategy you could use when talking with your board and trying to get them, at least from my perspective, is if we get them to buy into the emotional impact we can have by reducing, then great. But if that doesn't work, getting them to buy in because of the financial impact and the ability to run more programs because we'll have more money because we're not spending it on all these other things. Sometimes it's worth spending more money up front so that you don't spend it all. I'm one of those people, I don't have an electric car yet because I'm still not convinced about the back end in 10 years when the batteries need to be replaced. What happens to the batteries? And yes, I know the cars are already built and they're already on the lot. So if my one car, if I bought one, would that add? But the answer is yes. And the more people are buying now without a process for that back end, we do a lot of that as a human species. Is we're quick to share the benefits and we'll worry about the downside later because we can fix it. And that's part of why climate action is so important now. So I'll get off my soapbox, but I feel like, you know, there are some people that are just waiting, and sometimes we just need to hold their hand and see the benefits that'll come. It might take 2, 3 years, 5 years, even 10 years for the costs to then be washed, but then for another 50 years, it's hand over fist money that we've saved. So soapbox return to all of you, you know.
I also want to add, Leora, and feel free to share more, correct me if I'm saying anything incorrectly, but there was a recent ADAMA webinar actually kind of around the myths and anxieties around like electrifying that was really helpful. And there were some case studies that had data on the difference in cost over time, and just kind of like having that as the background, and if helpful in any way, to kind of look at that first and see what was said on that as like a starting point, also to kind of explore more options.
Yeah, I really appreciate this space and just hearing what everyone is saying. Because Shannon, like your question is great, and the answer is depending on what is meaningful to the people that you're talking with. And so what the coalition can definitely offer, and the JCC survey at large, is the framing around just how much is left on the table financially if you don't implement. Right, we call them climate solutions. They can also just be energy efficiency measures, or just like the idea of reducing your operational costs. Because like at the end of the day, as I said, like even just like an easy example is changing out light bulbs. That has like one of the fastest returns on investment of oftentimes a year or two. Nobody really notices the change. It's reducing emissions substantially for the environment. But what some may notice most is that it's actually dropping your electricity bill by so much. We have the data offhand from the JCC and the Mirage JCC in Orange County. They were also a recipient of ADAMA also has a climate action fund to support this work, as was really mentioned. And one of the lines that we have, which they shared, so I can share it as well, was they had intended to change up their bulbs incrementally over time. And then when they did the analysis, kind of like Roxana said, actually with the audit, when they did the analysis, they're like, oh, we're going to save so much so fast. They'll have to like figure out the navigation, right? Because JCCs are open just about every single day. but they quickly did all of their lighting in 1 year so that they could reap the benefits that much faster. And so if the framing around money is what makes sense to your board and your leadership, great, we have the data. And we actually, even better than just having like global data, we have JCC data that we can share, and that's we can like talk about how to offer that up. And then again, in just kind of in similar framing, like with once again, like the way that Peter talked about emergency resilience. And so that there are seniors on site, and like, what does it mean that if you know that seniors are coming every single day, that they actually know that in a moment of disaster, whatever kind of disaster, right? We can understand that weather-related disasters are X times more likely in the face and realities of climate change. Okay, like that's the conversation we can have here, or it can just be like, whoa, the 100-year storm just hit and there's another one coming. Like, it doesn't need, we can know in time, it'll be understood that it's around climate change, but for now, taking care of the community is what's the most important. And so just, it is okay to not lead with climate. One nuance I would say is that joining the coalition, we do ask, as we're shared, that there is the understanding that climate change is real. We don't need to lead with that, but that is a piece. And no matter what, though, the JCC is holding this space so that we can support the work and support you, and the coalition will be there for a long time whenever it makes sense.
Any other questions, comments, things people want to discuss in this room, in this space, and possibly in future climate action peer community spaces?
Can you mention a little bit, let's say, about like the funding opportunities for the JCCs?
I'm happy to share a little bit, as we hold a climate action fund, and which has regional matching grants for up to $10,000, and that's for bigger projects, we also have a zero interest loan program of up to $100,000 for anything that will reduce anything that will reduce emissions through infrastructure projects. Things like EV charging is even included, lighting, like a whole array. And I will just hop in a moment to like a piece that I put into the chat around federal funding. And this is only for US organizations. But right now, thanks to the Inflation Reduction Act, which went into effect January 1 of last year, for the first time, nonprofits like JCCs can access federal incentives for projects like solar, geothermal, even energy efficiency measures. If you have a fleet, there's money that goes towards electrifying buses and cars, whatever, like to fleets. This is one of the provisions that may be targeted by the new administration. Also, what we're hearing on the ground is that this provision is amazing. It's up to like minimum 30% on solar projects, for instance. That we are creating a network of people who have tapped into these funds, and those who are working to access these funds. Because once again, like learning from peers is the best way possible. And so we have a link to kind of create this network of those who have experience and those who want. Adama, kind of on behalf of the Jewish community, is part of coalitions to let the new administration, new members of Congress know just how valuable the Inflation Reduction Act is to our communities. Because like a solar project 2-3 years ago was still made sense, and is often next year, no matter what happens in the future, is still profitable for organizations' bottom lines. And a reimbursement of 30% is what corporations get. Nonprofits getting access to that money just allows us to lean into our mission even more. And so we're collecting the stories of the impact that the Inflation Reduction Act has offered to our communities. So it exists. We're hearing from the EPA and the Treasury that these provisions should be fully available for any projects done in 2025, possibly even longer. We'll know more in the coming months. But no matter what, we know that this storytelling and momentum is really important. Oh, right. Good question about the grant. The next round of the next cycle closes March 31st of 2025 for the Climate Action Fund. That one is going to be the North American Zero Interest Loan Program is what's closing on March 31st. There won't be a new grant cycle just yet. And once you have a project to be eligible for a new one, your first project needs to be finished.
I was kind of hoping I could apply for like 8 projects back to back to back while they're underway, you know.
One thing which you can do, which is exciting about the loan program, is that if you have lots of little projects, you can bundle them. And so if you had like a 10,000 project here and a 15 here, you can bundle them into one very large proposal, and for the $100,000 zero interest loan. And if it's a matter of like figuring out exactly when each will be completed, like we're open to that conversation.
Okay, thank you.
Well, great. It's almost the top of the hour here, 1 p.m. East Coast time. I know everyone is in various places, but if nobody else has anything else to share, I will close us out for today. So I wanted to start by just saying thank you so much again to Jen and Roxanne for leading us and volunteering as the co-chairs, and they will be on all future calls as well. And to Lior for her information she shared and presentation, and as always for Adama's partnership in this work. It wouldn't be possible without Lior and Adama. We'd also like to thank Sawyer, who is helping with tech, and Mark for joining as well. A few announcements is, so we already have the next peer community scheduled, which is very exciting. There's going to be one on February 13th at 3 p.m. Eastern time. And then the next one is May 14th at 3 p.m. And I will include those links in the chat so that everyone, if you want to just register right now and have it on your calendar, you can do so. So those are the next 2 peer communities, which we're very excited to be having. And then, as kind of talked about, if you are a JCC in the Jewish Climate Leadership Coalition, a reminder that your 2025 climate action plans are due January 31st, 2025. And if you are very confused what that means, please don't hesitate to reach out to me or Lior with any questions. We are here to support you. And as also mentioned earlier, there's going to be another JCC Association Climate Action Survey that will be going to JCCs to gather data on a variety of different topics and information to then hopefully share that information with the field and with this group as well. So more information for that to come in early 2025, but that will be coming up. And if nobody else has anything else to say, just wanted to say happy holidays to however and wherever you are celebrating, and wishing everyone a healthy and happy start to your new year in 2025. Thank you all today.
Thank you, Rebecca.
Bye.